Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tuned.
If you have a request or shout out, hit us up live in the studio. And now your host.
Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Showbiz. I'm your host, Nico Barnard, and with me as always is the lovely co-host, Shantae Raz.
Good day to everyone out there listening. We are excited to be back on radio for another fun-filled, smashed episode of Let's Talk Showbiz. Remember to like our page on Facebook at Let's Talk Showbiz and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Showbiz to keep up with the next industry talk and guests featuring. Hey!
Last week we had the incredible, talented singer and songwriter Josh Middleton in studio. If you missed any of our previous episodes live here on Brand Live, you can visit Brand Live's website at www.brandlive.co.za or go on our Facebook page, Let's Talk Showbiz, to get the YouTube links for our previous episodes as well as other shared links available about the topics that we discuss here on air.
During our second ad break, we will play a snippet of Josh's song Jealous, so keep an ear out for one. And also look out for the Muso's Ninja tracks on iTunes and other music platforms. So what's lined up for the next week's episode?
So joining us in the guest chair today for today's episode is the young and talented Richard Gao, theatre major, singer, actor, dancer, and film writer and director.
Before we explore what's hot in our industry and the interview with our fabulous guest, we have some news and feedback from Nico Barnard himself, who has literally just come back from Bangkok. Glad to have you back, Nick.
Thank you so much. It's fantastic to be back here in South Africa, my hometown, and it was an incredible journey, and I really learned so much. But it's good to be back.
So, Niklaus, nominated as the youth diplomat for South Africa, you were also invited to attend the conference in Bangkok, where many international parties gathered to share, learn, grow from each other. I can imagine that it must have been such a privilege to be there and soak in and be an enthusiastic voice for South Africa. So tell us more. What is this conference? Who was there? And tell us more about your role.
So the United Nations Youth Conference is basically where countries unite to achieve peace through diplomacy. It's with the United Nations, so they have chosen diplomats from all around the world to come together to talk about uplifting certain aspects to achieve the sustainable development goals that all of the countries has set, and those are things like accomplishing zero hunger and no poverty, creating decent work, creating good education, uplifting youth, all of those things. So there's 17 goals that the United Nations has set forth that they want to achieve by 2030. And what they've done is they've started reaching out to the youth to get involved as diplomats to try and also speak up on behalf of their country, what's going on in their country, to speak up, what the circumstances is in the country related to certain of these topics, and then to aid and work together to try and make a difference. And that was what the conference was all about. It was different countries coming together and talking about these topics and also proposing solutions to try and achieve this. And in fact, what will happen is if they can achieve and accomplish and fix some of these problems, it will filter throughout all of the other several industries in the country as well.
So I can imagine that at some point it will also impact the industry of the arts.
Definitely, because it's all about the economy, and I think if they work on increasing the economy and they work on increasing education and they work on increasing all of the other things, it will definitely filter through to our industry, the film and the TV and the performing arts industry.
The content.
Exactly, definitely. There will be more opportunities, more platforms, more. It will be a bit broader. It will, people. Some people are a little bit narrow-minded, so it will also it will open up a little bit more mind space for people.
And I also think just with the political open space and whatnot or subjects we can touch and platforms we can have for our youth, especially if you are developing the country and uplifting the country, that can just, evoke more resources for education platforms for people in the arts as well and other industries. Apart from the conference, you were in Bangkok. Managed to squeeze any sightseeing and any highlight adventures?
Oh yeah, that was very fun. So my first 2 days in Thailand, I actually went to so I said it's I used to call it with Pattaya, but apparently in Thailand it's called Pattaya or
Yeah.
Pattaya or something like that. So I went to Pattaya for the first 2 days, and I went to the floating markets, which is like a flea market, but you go on a little boat through like the waters and stuff. And I went to the
Like
sanctuary.
a canal.
Yeah. Like there's like a river thing, which is dirty, but but there's like this river thing. You go through that. You go to the flea markets. I went to the
So it's a water mall.
yeah, basically. It took me 3 hours to get through everything. I went to some shopping centers. I went to the beach. I went to the Sanctuary of Truth. Stayed in a spaceship.
What?
Yeah, so the guest house that I was staying in looked like a spaceship. Like, honestly, I'll share some
that's
pictures
dope.
on Facebook, but like, it looks like a spaceship. And I went to Ripley's, believe it or not.
Mm.
So that was quite interesting. And to Madame Tussauds, where all the wax figures are.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there,
Wow.
saw some of the wax figures. So that was quite cool. And then the
I'm so
conference
jealous.
started. So in the conference, we were quite busy. Spent majority of our time in Prince Palace. But at night, we went just to peek and see how, Khoisan Road and how the walking street is, and which is like their popular streets. But yeah, it's not quite my scene because it's like for 3 kilometers, it's just clubs and pubs and clubs and pubs and everything. So yeah, that was interesting to see. And we went to MBK, which is like a massive mall. But yeah, I did quite a few things, but the conference kept me busy.
And the culture was probably quite exciting to witness and see.
The culture was, but the food is the Thai food that we had in the restaurant. That's interesting. So the food that we had in the restaurant,
Your South African
like,
stomach.
yeah, my South African stomach. Like there was there was nice people that I met there that we actually became friends and acquainted with, and we like stick together. We were like a group of people. We just stuck together. So when we walked on, they can vouch, and they were like seconded. When we walked into the walking street and the people come with the scorpions on sticks and they want to offer that, I was like,
Nah,
that's
fam.
okay. You can go there. I'll stick to my chicken.
Stick to my
I think you
chicken.
don't know if it's chicken.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah.
no, that's one thing.
But the
I won't
culture
do.
was definitely interesting.
Scorpions.
It was really good to experience that.
Okay, thank you for sharing. It's all very exciting to have experienced such a profound opportunity. I just want to clarify that technically I am the youth diplomat, and I just felt bad for Niku, so I was like, you know what, just fine, just take my ticket, just go present me, here's the speech. Totally kidding. Yeah, I'm so jealous.
Of course, I can totally see you do that.
I was, there was space in my suitcase, but, Niklaus was like claustrophobic.
I'm too big.
So I just
I
had
won't
to,
fit in the suitcase.
I bet.
I need to work on the treadmill a
Fine.
little bit longer.
And back into man's society. No, that's very awesome. And if any of our listeners have questions to ask our host about his Bangkok trip and anything about the youth diplomat for South Africa and representation of it at the conference, you can inbox us via our Facebook page at Let's Talk Showbiz, or alternatively email us, and the email address will be provided on the Facebook page.
Fantastic. So let's dive in to our very first segment of the show and look at what's hot in the industry locally and internationally. Today we are going to highlight a focus on the theatre industry as well as later focus on the musical theatre industry.
Some exciting news for our youth artists trending the arts festivals and competitive platforms.
The National Arts Festival has unveiled 5 recipients of the 2019 Standard Bank Young Artist Awards. Each of these recipients, Mandla Mangleni for jazz, Kitty Patle for dance, Megan Prince for music, Amy Jepta for theatre, and Gabriel Goliath for visual arts, have all been acknowledged for their artistic innovation in their respective fields.
Each of these young artists will receive a cash incentive as well as commission to premiere in New York, a new work, imagine, or exhibit on the main program of the 2019 National Arts Festival, taking place in Makanda, Grahamstown, from the 27th June to 7th July 2019.
And it's always good to hear about new platforms creating exposure and growth opportunities for up-and-coming artists, especially to exhibit original work and to broadcast new talent.
Yes, that is very important in this current industry. In the world of theatre, more exciting news. The announcement of the South Africa premiere of A Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is here.
The show opened at Monte Cassino's Peter Turin and is running until the 2nd of December 2018. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is an Oliver Award and Tony Award winning Best Play by Simon Stevens based on a novel by the same name by Mark Haddon. The story revolves around the mystery surrounding the death of a neighbor's dog, Wellington, that is investigated by a young Christopher Boone and his relationship with his parents and his school mentor. So
It's
that's
actually quite a stunning piece.
I've never seen it. It sounds quite interesting. I'd
Oh
like
yeah,
to-
I think this is actually the first South Africa premiere of it, I think. But yeah, we all did like a film study of it when we studied, and the literature behind it is actually quite tactful and quite beautiful. So it's quite exciting that it's an essay,
Yeah, I think I'd
whether
like
it's
definitely
premiering
go
or
and
not. Also showing at the Piet Terrine is The Little Prince. Many of you know it from the classical animated adaptation. It's now showing until the 25th of November, the musical adaptation of The Little Prince. Be sure not to miss it. The Little Prince, as he recounts stories of his home and his love for the sultry singing rose in the garden. His intergalactic travels introduces you to a world of other planets and fascinating characters exploring life's most important lessons.
And be sure to take the family. Not only will they be glued onto the stage, your little ones will be taken on an adventure as they meet the talented young cast and the artistic director as he brings creativity and passion to this beloved classic story, creating a show that appeals to the audiences of all ages. Yes, this one is for the parents too.
It totally is. In Monty's Teatro, we have the ultimate classic, Roald Dahl's Matilda, the musical, with a fabulous and extremely talented all South African cast. The show ends at the 2nd of December before touring the Middle Eastern countries. I can personally say that this is a must-see. Matilda the musical is pushing boundaries here in South Africa, propelling an amazing show with very strong cast and even stronger creative team. The entire musical from start to finish was truly beautifully balanced, an integration of epic captivating choreography, wardrobe, stage aesthetics, light and sound, and orchestra displaying this excellence of the score, and such an excellent, strong cast that each displayed their characters with, you know, all the drama and humor that the script requires, but also this unique sincerity to each role. I was particularly left in awe of the young actress playing Matilda for this past Wednesday show, because they have rotating casts. Her innocence on stage was met with profound talent and a skill that she was truly captivating. Also the other leads and featuring roles ranging from the good guys to the bad guys to the in-between, each extraordinarily in their extreme humor, but consistently somehow keeping their characters relatable. I loved every second of it and was yet again amazed at the high standard of South Africa's productions, the talent and its creative teams. So this is just a shout out to Jonathan Roth for the complimentary tickets to go see Matilda. This singer, actor, dancer with his stunning theatre repertoire, Priscilla and Annie and more, is currently acing the Matilda ensemble scene, which will amaze you with his impactful dancing on stage and his lovely range of featuring characters. Be sure to look out for this musical theatre ninja. If you're listening, Jono, thanks a million, legend.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. Because last week I said I'm going to watch it. And then that didn't happen because I went to Bangkok. So now I'll just
But you went to Bangkok though.
no, I still want to go watch Matilda, so I'll just have to make a plan soon.
Yeah, you never know, someone might just
But-
give you comps.
Yeah, we know.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, wink, wink, that's just if there's anyone out there. I'm kidding. So plans didn't work out last time, but yeah. So be sure not to miss this theatre experience this season. Tickets is available on CompuTicket or at the theatre box office.
And on the front of 2019, there's already some exhilarating news.
Yep, you can get lost in the Winter Wonderland when Disney on Ice presents its Magical Ice Festival in South Africa to the audiences in the winter of 2019. The Magical Ice Festival will make stops in Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town, and for the first time in Pretoria.
Oh, exciting. And on the big screen, the 2nd of November will launch 8 new film releases, including 2 new South African films on the box office circus this week. The supernatural thriller The Tokoloshi tells the story of a terrifying predator, and the second film presenting a man who must decide how far he was prepared to go to protect his family in the gangster tale Mayfair. And lastly, on the current film production scene, Night Lights Productions will be hosting their annual charity fundraising event on the 24th of November at Industrial Coffee Works in Centurion. This night promises a jam-packed, fun-filled evening of glitz and glamour, red carpet scene with press and media and photo booth fun. This is an awesome event platform for artists to network and socialize with live performances of upcoming bands, 2 short film screenings, and a love for good food. Be sure to get your tickets, details available on our page.
And the second installment of the Comic-Con Africa is confirmed. It will be held at the Gallagher Convention Center in Midrand, Johannesburg from the 21st till the 24th of September 2019. Following the inaugural event, the 2019 installment will take place over 4 days to accommodate even more
Oh, that's
people
brilliant.
and even more pop culture fans. Carol Weaving, Managing Director of the Reed Exhibitions Africa, says, "We exceeded our own expectations in 2018, and you are going to see bigger and better in 2019.
Dun, dun, dun.
We have listened to our fans first, which means we needed to find a venue that is bigger, with more parking, more shade." Yeah, that was a big problem. Easy access, and the Gallagher Convention Center fits the bill perfectly. We've also added a public holiday on the 24th to accommodate the crowds.
So you actually went this year?
Yeah, I was there, and the shade was a problem, and you had to walk. Like, where we had to park, we had to walk like probably 3-4 kilometers, but it was cool. It was so cool.
Any like highlights?
Unfortunately, missed everyone. Like all the big people that was there, I missed. But I got to see the exclusive and the private screening of Hell Trip, which is a international film that was produced here in South Africa with some very well-known South African actors. And Patrick Garcia,
awesome.
he's a very well-known film director as well, with Act Films. They produced the film, so we actually got to see the screening, which was epic. It was very, very fun. Got to meet awesome people. I dressed up as Maleficent.
Maleficent?
Yeah, but the male version of Maleficent.
Aye.
Yeah. I've got my coat. We're actually filming this weekend, and I brought my coat as a prop because we don't know what's going to happen this weekend. But yeah, it was cool. It was
Look out for Nico in the next 48-hour film in his Maleficent outfit.
No, I'm not going to wear the Maleficent. I was there as a prop. No, but it was cool. It was really fun. It was really, I would definitely suggest people go. It was a good experience. I'll be back in
I heard there
2019.
was an actual RDD2 robot roaming around.
Yes,
and
yes.
a Baymax that you could hug. I'm so jealous.
I missed Baymax, but there was the
You missed the Baymax.
I
Oh,
missed
you
the
did not
Baymax.
live. You might as well not have gone. No,
Nah.
wait, you did have the screening. Okay, that
Yeah.
counts. That counts. Oh, that's exciting. So keep an eye out for that and maybe get your tickets for Comic-Con. Don't miss it. Every year, everyone says they want to do it and they miss it, and then they miss the most exciting stuff. So don't do that. And on the music front, American stand-up comedian and actor Dave Chappell will be touring South Africa for the first time with shows in Cape Town, Durban, and Joburg this November and December.
And last week we touched on The Greatest Showman's new album launch coming soon, with reimagining of the score incorporating by iconic international artist. We gave you guys a sneak peek teaser of Pink's version of Million Dreams, which she also did a reversion with her daughter Willow. A second single has dropped and it's been released featuring Panic at the Disco. It is available on iTunes. Find out more information. What's wrong with
Just
my
buy
tongue?
it. Just buy it.
To
That's
find
the
out
point.
more information about this, you can get the link on our Facebook page. We will also be sharing a link
Yes.
where you can actually listen to it, so it's quite cool. I listened to it. It's quite
Have
cool.
you already
Yeah.
listened to it? I'm like waiting in anticipation.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I'm a very big Panic at the Disco fan.
Oh, it's so exciting that they're doing the reimagining with, iconic artists that have inspired us through the years, especially our generation growing up. So that's also really great. And I mean, they don't even have to do it, for a money reason. They already hit platinum.
Exactly.
So it's just exciting to incorporate different artists and different
I think it's
industry
going to be
fields.
curious to also see how artists that we know, well-known artists, how they are going to incorporate, how they are going to do their version of these well-known songs that have been the anthem of
And
the
add their own
movie.
flavor
Yeah,
and
exactly.
their own relativity. I mean, it's very curious. Also, Lloyd Sele sends out a huge thank you to all his supporting fans for his new single Higher, debuted at #1 Best of the Week on iTunes, which was released last week. The band IV4 will be launching their album on the 16th of November at Arcade Empire in Pretoria. Tickets sold at the door. Make sure not to miss this epic collaboration of musos. Be the first to get your own copy of the album and a chance to get your share of some epic giveaways.
And wrapping things up, tune in next week Friday as we review the brand new top 5 films in the box office mania. Be sure to also participate in our competition. There's only 1 week left.
Free tickets!
In case you forgot how it works, it's very simple. Go watch one of the top 5 films of the box office that we mentioned during the first episode. And if you can't remember what the 5 films is, then you can go and re-listen to our episode on our podcast on YouTube or on Brand Live's website. So you have to go and watch any of those top 5 films. Take a selfie of yourself at the movies in front of the movie poster. Post it on social media and tag us at Let's Talk Showbiz using the hashtags #Let's Talk Showbiz and #BoxOfficeMania. Winners will be required to present their movie tickets to us, and the winners will receive 4 movie tickets to a movie of their choice to any cinema near them. T's and C's apply. So if you don't know what the top 5 films are, like I said, we will also be posting on Facebook, but you can go listen to the first episode of our podcast on YouTube.
And that's all, folks.
Sound like
That's
Looney
it.
Tunes?
Yeah, what's up, Doug? That That's all that we have for today for What's Hot section of today's episode. You can tune in every Friday from 11:30 to 12:30 to hear what's hot in the music, film, and theatre industry locally and internationally. Also, feel free to tag us on @Let'sTalkShowbiz on any media regarding industry gems and upcoming events. Hashtag do what you love and love what you do. We will be taking a quick short break, and when we return, we'll be talking to our fabulous studio guest, Richard Gow.
What you missed on the social show.
My first question then is, where are these hubs of economic development? Which township do I find a hub of economic development? Why must, if the focus is really capacitating the disadvantaged, why must I climb onto 3-4 taxis to get to a certain area? A certain area has got about 6 to even 20 of these, right? Coming from Alexander or Tembisa. So you then find that there is a township economy, but the people that are living within this township economy, that are starting businesses in this township economy, are not full participants of this township economy.
For more, go to www.brandlife.co.za.
What's up?
What's up? This is your host, Nico Barnard.
And your co-host, Shantae Russ on Let's Talk Showbiz.
Tune in every Friday at 11:30 to hear more about what's new and what's hot in the film, theatre and music industry locally and internationally, featuring special guests every week.
Get clued in the world of the up-and-coming gems and established artists and industry professionals every Friday.
That's Let's Talk Showbiz every Friday at 11:30 right here on Brand Life.
9, 8, 7, 6.
Let's Talk Showbiz, here live on Brand Life.
This is your show.
What are you doing?
Welcome back. You're tuned in with us here at Let's Talk Showbiz here live on Brand Live. We're having such a blast here behind the scenes. We've got an exciting guest with us in studio today.
He's so funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
I'm lekker. What are you talking about?
He's actually wearing a t-shirt that says Lacquer.
Welcome, Richard.
Hi.
Shout
Thanks
out to
for
the
having
brand
me.
that's in Cape Town somewhere.
So a little bit about Richard. After graduating cum laude musical theatre at TUT, Richard has been seen on stage in dance shows, music theatre and dramatic plays. He has professionally danced with K-Mat Dance Company, is that correct?
Yes, in Pretoria.
Okay, Decade and the Matchbox Theatre, collaborated dance company. He has his dance credits also includes performing and choreography with Debbie
Rakusin, that's it.
Rakusin,
Yep.
there we go.
This is stunning.
Timothy LaRue and Alice Clark. In numerous corporate events, Richard has performed in local and international productions. Peter Doreen's productions, The Dirty Dancing,
Banya and Sonia,
and
Masha and Spike.
and The Vertical Hour, Singing in the Rain,
Woo!
Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Evita,
Janice Honeyman's
Janice
Honeyman's pantomime.
Aladdin, and he's also been recently the lead in the new production Calling Us Home. He also recently made his film debut in the local thriller Aya?
Yes.
Aya?
called
How'd you
Aya.
like to say it?
Aya?
Aya?
As Viola van Cleve, highlighting the intricacies of women trafficking. Richard is also an inspiring writer-director, having produced music videos, television commercials, short films, and more recently producing his own YouTube show.
Okay, so to jump into what everyone has been waiting for, as mentioned before, we've got Richard. He's here in the hot seat. Richard, so you just completed your run in the new theatre production called Calling Us Home.
I did.
Tell the listeners more about the production. What was it all about?
Well, I had the immense honor of playing a character named Raphael. He is a construction worker and he's the head of the construction crew. But he finds himself dealing with a lot of issues that arise from his sister Isabella, who just wants to sing. So she finds out that she can sing at this club called the Mantis Club, and it's run by this gangster, this terrible person called Ivan. So Raphael is very aware that this guy is bad news, but what does he do? His sister wants to sing, and that's the way that she's going to go, and he's trying desperately to stop her, but at the same time he wants to support her dreams. And in doing so, he attends the performance that she gets at the Mantis Club, and he's got a fiery temper, and they push his buttons, and he lets loose. He trashes the club, and it gets Isabella in trouble, and things go awry. And to get back at Raphael, Ivan cooks up this whole this whole scheme, and they want to teach him a lesson. And in doing so, Raphael's best friend dies in the crossfire. And yeah, he gets framed for the killing, and he goes to jail. And his sister Isabella needs to rise up from her circumstances to save Raphael, who, in the process, fell in love with this beautiful girl. Her name is Grace. She was fleeing from her hometown somewhere in Africa. It's not stipulated in the show. And they fall in love, and she eventually goes back because after the war and all the turmoil that's going on in their hometown, she goes back to live her life. And Raphael, after getting out of prison, he goes and finds her.
Great, so you play the lead in
I
this
do,
musical,
I
right?
do,
And how was
Raphael.
your experience with the show?
So what I enjoyed most about the whole idea is that in South Africa we don't really get the opportunity to create new work,
Yeah.
which was
This is an original
such a privilege, and also to be a part of the creative process, that I had creative input with how the character spoke, how he walked, how he talked, how he interacted with his friends, with his enemies, which was an absolutely beautiful experience for me. Most of our blueprint productions, they come as the word implies, blueprints. Someone else has decided on your steps, on your choreography, on what notes
like
you're
a
going to
Broadway
sing.
production.
Where this time round, the composer and writer of the show, Alice Gillum, she was so kind and generous in the creation of this piece that she wanted to
collaboration.
incorporate our ideas as well as their own that she had from her creative team.
That's great, because it's good to have creative collaboration and to work with people that are like that you can actually you're not just the actor, you're not just the person that have to say the lines and sing the songs, but you're physically involved in uplifting this project, which is
Absolutely.
amazing. And by the sounds of it, it sounds absolutely amazing.
The music was beautiful.
I wish I could have seen it. So, you guys didn't do a Joburg run?
We did do a Joburg run about a year
Must
ago.
have.
It was a workshop process through. I mean,
Do you think they'll bring it back?
I hope so. So the idea is
Wink, wink.
is creating a brand new show. It obviously goes through different phases in the growth process. So we put it on the planks at the Joburg Civic Theatre last year, and we had a bit of a run. And then what everyone did was they took notes. They saw how the audience reacted, how the actors
they built it
felt
up.
about it, and then they took it back to the drawing board and they reworked the process.
Oh, wow.
And because most musicals take about 5 to 10 years
Yeah.
to really get the finished product that people can enjoy and love and grow old with. So it's been a very, very interesting experience. During the last run of Calling Us Home, I was the alternate Raphael, and I also played one of the ensemble characters, and his name was Mike. So it was very interesting for me to grow into the leading role from the first process.
Okay.
And it's also got the opportunity of potentially touring abroad, right?
Well, that's what we're hoping for.
Hey.
Yeah,
Well,
a proudly South African product to tour the world. Wouldn't that be divine?
That would be amazing. I really hope that I really hope that it works out and that they bring it back to Joburg, because I would definitely want to see it. And yeah, it would be fantastic if they can actually then tour the world. That would be an amazing milestone for us. Amazing.
It'll be the first time in 30, 40 years that a South African production has done that since Sarafina.
Hashtag goals.
Right?
I actually want to ask you a
Yes.
question that you probably get a lot.
Don't worry about it.
What is the difference between calling me home and calling us home?
So that's a quick and easy fix. Calling Me Home was the original.
The one, the
was
classic abroad.
Well, yes, it was the original design of this production. But what they did is, in anticipation, the creatives are very, very clever. They did their research, and there is a film, a Warner Brothers film, if I'm not mistaken, that is called Calling Me Home. So in anticipation of perhaps turning this musical into a movie musical, they needed to change the title so that there wouldn't be any confusion.
And I also
but
imagine
also-
the content is more relevant to
Well,
our...
yes, it's the idea of Calling Us Home includes a whole
Yeah.
bunch of people, and includes a nation, and includes an international audience rather than just the Calling Me Home. So I think it's a beautiful testament to the piece at large.
And the location bases are obviously, and the plot's also different.
No,
Similar?
very, very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, they just
Okay.
refined a couple of things, tightened up some screws, and it's honestly
stunning.
turned into such a beautiful piece. We got a wonderful review on BroadwayWorld.com, and the audience members that we interacted with after the show, they were very appreciative. They didn't know what to expect, and we just heard some really wonderful things.
Yeah, we actually shared the Broadway review.
Yeah, we did on the previous
Thank you.
show.
Thanks very
in the
much.
previous show, we actually talked about the Broadway review that you guys got, and we were very
And that it
astonished.
was like actually groundbreaking for
Lekker,
SA.
lekker.
Lekker.
So, Richard, you've been in the industry for quite a big time. You've been working in theatre, and you've also been diving into film and television. How did everything start for you?
Oh my goodness. I guess it started as a young boy, just watching films and going to shows, just wishing that I could be a part of the process of storytelling. Films and theatrical shows was a huge part of my upbringing because I was a little bit overweight. I got picked on when I was a little kid, and it's yeah.
What, you were overweight?
Thank you, puberty, for sorting that out. So it was really difficult, and I took solace in the storytelling and the beautiful stories that were portrayed on the big screen. And so my first love came with acting. I just wanted to act. I wanted to be the vessel that told these stories, that gave me hope and gave me strength through those difficult times. And then I discovered singing and dancing, and I knew I was hooked.
Hashtag musical theatre.
Oh my goodness.
So what would you say has been your biggest accomplishment so far in your career?
I think so. To be PC about this, every piece is as important as any other piece that I've done. My favorite and most challenging moments I ever had, I was in Manila in the Philippines, and we were doing Singing in the Rain. Unfortunately, our lead had gotten injured. He hurt his ankle. So because the workload of that show, specifically the Don Lockwood character, the Gene Kelly character, was
iconic,
so difficult, the lead played 6 shows, and he had an alternate that played 2 shows a week. So because our lead got injured, our alternate became our lead, and I was second cover, I became the alternate.
Oh.
So during that time, I had the wonderful privilege of alternating not only Don Lockwood, but Cosmo Brown, his comedic sidekick. So on this specific day, it was crazy. Just note to all the listeners, if you go to Manila, don't drink the tap water. It will make you ill. So we got that note, but I still brushed my teeth in the tap water. So I got very ill. And the day before, I called in sick, and it was terrible, and I won't go into any of the gory details.
Oh, man.
But my Don Lockwood performance was the next day. So I was saving up my energy to do that, and I had my Don Lockwood performance in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And halfway through the show, my resident director ran in and said, "Hey, how are you with Cosmo Brown?" And I was like, I'm fine. Hadn't performed it in 3 months, but yeah, I'm okay with it. He said, "Oh, all right." He went out. We finished the show. He came back in and said, "So listen, the chap that's playing that role, he's very ill, so you're gonna have to go on." I had a little bit of a moment, but it was one of the most difficult days, because those 2 characters were on stage a lot at the same time, and their choreography was exactly the same, just mirrored.
Oh.
So I had to
reverse
remember
it,
everything on the other leg,
Well done.
which was amazing. And there were a couple of hiccups here and there, but
And you
I'm
did-
sure nobody knows.
it was one of the most beautiful experiences, because I think I'm still credited as one of the only performers to have performed each character on the same day.
Yes. And
Big.
you did that over and above having tap water. in your
I was
system.
very dehydrated. If I was doing a photo shoot, I would have looked on point.
particular tap water. It
Yeah,
does sound like
pat-
snobs.
That
You
particular.
had tap water in your system.
Well, I mean that particular tap water that they weren't supposed to drink.
Grits.
Yeah, they did warn us though.
They did warn you.
I had a similar experience.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm glad you're healthy now, and
Thank
that
you.
you've accomplished such a profound thing to call
Thank
back
you.
on memories. And I have to ask, film or theatre, and why?
Oh man,
can
you're
you not
asking burgers or
choose?
pizza. I can't. It's really
Oh,
difficult.
so it's like when you're in the mood for it.
no. So each avenue has. I've got such a
Has
deep
different
love.
flavors.
But also it's a completely different monster, the film or theatre. So I've often asked myself the question: do I want to be on stage, or do I want to be watching the show? Because there's just so much magic, but there's just such a rush when you hear. So I always explain the audience applause. It's like rain. It's the most comforting and calming thing to hear. So, ooh, man, both. Can I have both? Is that okay? Can I have my
let's
toast
change
and
the
butter
question
it?
a bit regarding musical theatre
Yes.
department. Would you settle for theatre? Okay, I can't actually say settle because that's like an amazing thing. Or would you one day want to do film? Or
So,
either or?
I'm very grateful and lucky that I have been able to be on some beautiful international stages, but my first love will always be film.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so you recently
Cool.
did, speaking of film, you recently did a feature film, Aya, right?
Aya. Yes,
Aya.
that's the character name, Aya.
Aya, and it highlights the horrific aspects of women trafficking. To the listeners, we have posted a poster of the film on our Facebook page. You can go check it out. So, Richard.
Surprise.
I will also give you guys a link to the promo.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, unfortunately the film is not available because it was
Yet, yeah.
designed for the film festivals, but I'll give you a link for the promo and you guys can
That would
check
be
it out.
fantastic. So, tell us a little bit more about what the film was about and what your experience was working on this film.
So this was a very unique experience for all of us that were involved in the film. The director called me up and he said, "Hey, listen, I got a script. I think you'll be great for the character." I read it. It was about half of the script, and I said, "Cool, yeah, let's do it." He finished. So this is very interesting. He wrote the script in 2 days, prepped it in 5, and we shot the entire feature in 3.
Hashtag goals.
It was a rush. It was
Can
wild, but also what was so challenging for us as the actors is to try and create 3-dimensional characters in such a short amount of time. Most of the scenes, when the film does finally get released, there's a whole chunk of the film that's filmed in a single room with just a mattress. We didn't have time to do multiple takes, so each one of those scenes, the camera never cuts. We did that only once.
Oh,
And then
wow.
they edit it later. in
Only
post-production.
once. There were no angles to cut to. They just let it run. So as an arts film, that's really interesting to watch. But for us, we had a meeting prior to shooting, and we said, this is what we're going for. The director said, yeah, okay, I love the direction. And what was beautiful about it is, just like Calling Us Home, the director trusted his actors to bring these characters to life. So that was a beautiful process to go through, but the subject matter was really, really difficult.
Intense.
The story follows this character Aya, and how she gets drawn into this terrible world of woman trafficking. The story is also told by the character that I played. His name is Boyd van Cleef. He used to be a photographer and saw that there was a gap in the market to sell a different kind of product. So he, obviously with the introduction of the dark web and how people communicate these days, he was presented with an opportunity this wasn't the first time, to deliver a product for the other character. His name is Mika. What he intended the product to be used for, we don't really dive into because it's a very deep and dark conversation to have. So he trolls the internet, Tinder, Bumble, all of those that our listeners use. Be careful. And he found a variety of product that he presented to Mika, and he went out and set up a date and proceeded to prep her for her new life.
So you play the perpetrator.
Yeah, I did. I played the bad guy, which was very, very difficult because it's not really in my nature.
Yeah,
I'm a
of
musical
course.
theater baby. I want to sing and dance for a living.
You're happy, and this is very
so-
dark and stuff. So how is the before we go into the human trafficking, which is very, very important? How is it like for you as someone that, like you said, you're in musical theater, which is always, and you play uplifting characters? How was the experience to actually go into this character that is so dark and to go be the antagonist?
So as an actor, I was taught at university to play a role convincingly. There needs to be a part of you, a part of truth in your portrayal of the character. And so it depends on what kind of process you take, whether it's Stanislavski or whether it's method acting. I personally don't like method acting.
Not for this
Because
one.
if you are required to kill someone, I would not recommend that you do that to figure out how it feels. So I drew on other difficult experiences that I'd been through. And for me, I drew on a lot of how I was bullied as a kid, because that's ultimately what this character was doing. He was bullying this person into submission and convincing her that her old life was now over. So it was really tricky. Both of us, the girl Danica and myself, that played the two lead characters. It was a really difficult process for us to go to those really dark places to tell these characters truths,
And then come out of it again.
and then try and snap out of it so quickly.
Because I imagine, like, with the musical theater, I mean, obviously it's not just Joy's characters, it's not just, like, hey, here we go, happy children's theater song.
Yeah.
You obviously have that scope to play the bad guy or the whatnot with
Yes.
musical interlation. But with this film, because you're consistently one character without the scope of music, without the scope of dancing,
Yeah.
I can imagine that it was quite an intense place to go.
Yeah.
Especially because, as you say, your character isn't that like that, and
Mm.
I assume that your character hopes for change in that industry. So, you know what I mean? Like,
so-
I can just imagine how hectic it should have been.
What I'm so happy about both these two pieces that I was a part of the creation with the musical and with the film is that we created characters that not only fit into one aspect, they weren't just bad.
Yeah, because they're relatable. They're real
they
people.
They were good too. There were good elements about them. They were good people doing bad things. Which a lot of us find ourselves in those situations that we have good intentions, but we do bad things to
And then how
in
we
order to
validate
get it,
them.
and then we validate it,
Yes.
on the way. With Boyd in the film, he just needed to make money. And if he isolated himself from this emotional experience of getting involved with these people, he was able to deliver the product,
Yeah.
which is a terrible, terrible thing to do. But it's also what was crazy for me is the lies we tell ourselves to get through the day.
Yeah.
And he believed that that's fine. He doesn't know these people. He doesn't get emotionally attached. It's just a product,
I mean, to
which was
survive, he can't get attached to it.
horrendous, absolutely horrendous. That anyone could treat people like that, but it's our
And sleep at
responsibility
night,
as
yeah.
actors and as artists
shed
to
light on
go
that.
to those difficult places that our audiences don't really want to, and to start this conversation, because this is something that needs to be dealt with. It needs to be obliterated. There are people out there that are selling human life. It's
serious.
And I think also, like you said, these are human beings. These are people that also have their good side and just, kind of lose themselves in their own validation. And with creating awareness about those things, a lot of people just assume they're 2D, it's just evil people.
Yeah.
And if people can also see it starts with them, excuse me, they can also be aware of not getting involved themselves.
Yeah.
Because what I've realized volunteering at multiple safe houses is that the perpetrators are sometimes also the victims,
yeah.
forced in. And
Yeah.
it's a good that you said that. So human trafficking is a serious thing worldwide, but it is also quite evident in our country. And I think as artists with our influential platforms, it is important to use our platforms to at times address these situations and wake up some of our communities, create awareness, and hopefully ideally evoke change or support. So thank you for your contribution, Richard.
It's my pleasure.
There are quite a few NGO safe houses in our country that are giving refuge, healthcare, food, psychological care, and more to rescues and survivors of trafficking and slavery circumstances. If any listeners are inspired to financially support these causes or somehow know someone who might be interested, please look on our Facebook page for more information on these charities, safe houses, and the current aid they are in desperate need of. Also, if you are keen to get involved and volunteer at many of the community days or revamping or outreaches, the information will be available on the page.
We'll be sharing some information on our Facebook page. We'll also be sharing the promo for Aya on our Facebook page, and you can also come to what Shantae mentioned earlier, the Nightlight Premiere charity event, which is on the 24th of November. Is tackling one of the charities is women trafficking and safe housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the charity is called Our Home. It is with Jesus for Real Ministries, and they have a lot of survivors of of trafficking that are currently taking refuge there and being, it's a house of restoration, and we want to financially aid them because they are non-governmental, so their entire system runs on sponsorship and donation, and Nightlight is taking the prerogative to assist and aid.
Yeah, so if you want to be interested in attending the event, which will be very, very fun, you can also go to the Facebook page for Nightlight Productions. So before we quickly take a break, so Richard, Aya, you said Aya is going to do festival runs. After that, where will people be able to see it if they're very keen to see this amazing masterpiece that you guys made?
Yeah, so our first run of Aya was at the Durban International Film Festival, and then we were recently at the Cape Town International Film and Festival. As far as I know, it's bound for hopefully a couple of other festivals, but as far as distribution to the public at large, I do know that the director is in conversation with a couple of really wonderful platforms in order to distribute the film so that the people can see it.
Okay, fantastic. And keep us up to date, and we'll
I
keep
will.
the listeners up
I
to
will.
date. And we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will continue our intriguing interview with the one and only Richard Gao. If you have any questions for Richard, you can submit them to our Facebook page, Let's Talk Showbiz. Just inbox us if you've got any questions for him. And we will now be playing a little clip of last week's guest, Josh, with the song Jealous.
It's the official Major World Online Stew Invasion.
Bars on bars.
What about me right now? It's about our guest, but skip on. I'm not going to lele, but I'm a playing studio, but skip on. Oh, freestyle. Shang freestyle. Fanukuma no baba Andy. Hashtag. I think it's a lot of beat, dog. No okay.
Young niggas' ambition, waking up is working for money. Changing their past, feeding their fams, malang lali. We keep it running like SPV, exchanging money.
Man, nice. Hey, nice. Call them unexpected experts. White sweatshirt.
Hey.
Looking down on these niggas, my damn neck hurts.
Woo.
You can go ahead, homie, give me your best work. I bet you take your phone out and mumble up your first words.
Live from 27 boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za.
Untouchable, that's what I am. My skin is stone, frozen in time and aching. My blood is cold through my veins, but you took control. Now I think I am broken. You wanna see we could be stronger under a bed of lies. You wanna see the power we had, the power you left behind. Baby, I need to try, but darling, I still get jealous. Baby, you have my heart, and darling, it still gets jealous. Jealous, jealous. Jealous, jealous. Jealous, jealous. Darling, I still get jealous. Untouchable, that's what you are. Your heart is stone, frozen in time and now. Tear stains, perfect one. Your mind is set, holding on to my heart. You wanna see we could be stronger under a bed of lies. You wanna see the power we had, the power you left behind. Baby, I need to try, but darling, I still get jealous. Baby, you have my heart, and darling, it still gets jealous. Jealous, jealous. Jealous, jealous. Jealous, jealous. Darling, I still get jealous. Jealous, jealous.
And welcome back to Let's Talk Showbiz. That was Josh Middleton with Jealous. He was our guest last week, an amazingly talented little music ninja.
In studio with us is Richard Gao, a man with many talents and passions, and someone who is making an impact with his range of work. Richard, tell us a bit about the work that you have produced and directed and wrote yourself.
So I was always very, very passionate about creating platforms for young artists that don't really have a platform. So when I started my career in the business, I went to many auditions and they said, we think you're great, you just don't have enough experience. So my idea was, how am I going to get experience if you don't hire me? So
Catch-22.
So
Right.
it sucked. It sucked. So I found myself in the situation that I had to come up with an idea. So I went and I bought myself a camera, a couple of lenses, and YouTube is one of the best teachers I have ever had. And I started teaching myself how to create I started with photography, that went into music production, which went into film production, which went into writing and all of this. And with my musical theatre training, they taught us how to tell stories. It just made sense. So I started creating a couple of little things and little pet projects here and there for my friends. Oh, I need a headshot here. I need to do a fashion photo shoot. Yeah, sure. I'll do it. Let's learn. Let's grow. Oh, and then
Portfolio. Yeah.
one of the music videos I created was from one of my friends. He's been dating his girl now for almost 2 years, but at their 1 year anniversary, she was working on the ships and he was here, and he was like, I want to give her something, but I can't give her something physically. So I said, okay, cool, let's record a song and make a video. And he said, that sounds amazing. So he found a song. He did a cover of James Arthur's oh man, what is it?
One?
I met you in the dark, you lit me up. That one. Anyways, just say you won't let go.
Oh, that song.
Just say you won't let go.
I'm showing up.
So he recorded. We found a backtrack and he recorded it. It was so funny. We recorded it in my room. The sound equipment was, it wasn't a studio, but we got something decent. And then I came up with a concept. In his home, he has a whole bunch of these Polaroid pictures of them and experiencing different memories. And he had them hung up on these strings. So I said, okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to be going through all of these and you're going to be putting them up. And then he had received 2 postcards, and I thought that was just such a sweet sentiment that she actually took the time to write these postcards. So we incorporated that in, and we made the music video, and he sent it through to her, and it was very, very special. And that kind of just opened up a new avenue to create film work for some of my friends, and we just trying to make little things with, there's a musical theatre show called The Life, and one of the songs says, use what you got to get what you want. So that's what I adopted and try to create as much as I could.
Okay, we've got a question from a listener, Zorlani Petrus.
Yo,
He's
hi,
asking, Yo, Richard, what's your favorite character that you've ever played?
Oh,
And
man.
why?
And why?
And why?
Cool.
My goodness.
Down. No
okay,
pressure.
so it's a toss-up between 2. One was... Oh, man, it was just such a special moment. Was Don Lockwood in Singing in the Rain. It actually rained on stage.
Hey.
No jokes, it rained on stage. We had a filtration system and there was a reservoir underneath, so I could kick and splash, and it was raining, and I got to sing the title track, Singing in the Rain, in the rain. It was one of the most difficult numbers to dance because my clothes were wet, it was weighted, but it was so magical. And every time I went on, it was just one of the most beautiful experiences. And then playing Johnny Castle in the iconic Dirty Dancing, my favorite moment was storming through the auditorium, and the audience doesn't know what's going on, and I throw my bag down. I was like, nobody puts baby in the corner. It was the most fun I've had. And then obviously the moment that came afterwards. It says, nobody puts baby in the corner.
Just wanted you to do it
Okay,
again.
all right. So thanks, Alani. Thanks for that question.
Okay, cool.
What's next for you? We're concluding the interview. What is next for Richard Gao?
So I'm currently in the process of producing my own YouTube show, which will be very, very cool.
Check it out.
It's a show called Before the Bucket. It's an ode to doing all the things that you want to do before you kick it. So
smart.
it's everything. So my brain never shuts off. So it's everything from the small things that you want to do, like learning how to cook, and the big things like bungee jumping, blow-cons, the Storms River Bridge, all those really cool things, and it's about document them. It's just an ode to being alive. The most important day that you have is the day that you are actually alive, which is today. So it's about doing things that make you feel alive. And are we allowed to talk about it? Are we?
We're running out of time.
Oh, we're running out of time.
Well.
Anyways, and there's a couple of other projects that are coming up, which is very, very cool.
Page as well.
Sweet. As soon as I
so
hit
do
upload.
check it out, and keep an eye out for this ninja.
Okay, so that concludes our interview with this multi-talented Richard Gao. So now, like always, we're heading into our last segment of the game. Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
Am I involved in this?
Yes.
Oh,
you
snap.
playing Snap.
We're going to give you a quick preview. So what
Okay.
basically happens is we run down words. You have 60 seconds, and you need to do relative... Okay, take a breather.
Yeah, okay, all right.
We're going to give you a demonstration.
Cool.
Words and then relative words.
Yes.
And if it's not relative, you lose that point. And also if you take long to get something, you lose a point with an interruption of, oh, snap.
Yeah.
So
you can't say pass. If you take more like 3 to 5 seconds to answer, it doesn't work. So we're doing a scoreboard. with all of our guests, and the guest that gets the highest score
Let's do a
gets
demonstration.
Okay, so color.
Grey.
Milkshake.
Bubblegum.
Fruit.
Apple.
Island.
Mauritius.
You see, something like that.
All right, I apologize to the listeners in advance for what is about to come out of my mouth.
So you need to do it as quick as possible.
Okay.
And see how
I'm
many
ready.
you can
I'm
get.
concentrating.
Okay, I cue the timer in.
4, 3, 2. I'm kidding. 2, 1. Toothbrush.
Oral-B.
Favorite soda.
Coca-Cola.
Musical.
Company.
Film.
Mission Impossible.
TV series.
The Peaky Blinders.
Favorite superhero.
Superman. Richard. Superman.
Favorite food.
Burgers.
Song. Favorite song.
Everlong by the Foo Fighters.
Favorite character.
Ever.
Favorite season.
Of what?
Winter.
No, that's. I thought it was a TV series.
New York.
Frank Sinatra.
Hollywood.
The Sign.
Tomorrow.
Annie.
That's good. Last meal you ever had.
Last meal.
You had your.
Oh, ribs and chips.
Sing the song in your head right now.
I'll snap.
3, 2, and 1.
I thought you were gonna sing for us.
I didn't know what to sing. I was gonna sing the
That was
Gummy
so
Bears
fun.
theme tune.
Sing it for us.
Dashing and daring, courageous and caring, faithful and friendly with stories to share. All through the forest they sing out in chorus, marching along as their song fills the air. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere.
And that concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much, Richard, for joining us in studio today.
Thank you both for having me.
It has been
wonderful.
quite fantastic to have you with us and hear about your great adventures and work that you're doing in the industry.
And for everyone out there, you can follow Richard on Instagram at Richard Gao and check out his YouTube channel at Richard Gao.
Oh, it's Richard S. Gao.
Richard S.
Richard
Gao.
Gao was taken by some American. I will find you.
Next week in studio, we will be announcing the winner of our movie ticket competition, so make sure that you enter before it's too late.
Yes. So that's all we got for today on Let's Talk Showbiz. It's a good life. Don't forget to love what you do and do what you love. Tune in next Friday at 11:30, and as always, keep it real and slay.
To brandlive.co.za. You're listening to brandlive.co.za.